solar due to a neighbor's bad experience. Which ones do we want to do first today?
Do them in order.
Bad experience.
Yeah, that one, the last one.
Okay. What's another one? Hey,
Expensive.
If you speak up, you get fed today. If you don't, somebody else tells you what you're going to eat. Real simple.
My
Expensive.
homeowner insurance is gonna get canceled.
Homeowner insurance. That's another one. I love that one. All right.
Yeah, too expensive.
All right. So we've got, what did we say? Perception, bad experience,
Yes.
expensive, and you guys want to do the homeowner insurance going to get canceled?
Yeah. That one sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
All right. Awesome. So first and foremost, here's what we need to understand, okay? Everything about the human brain is processed like everything about human behavior is processed like a computer, okay? Cell phone, laptop, iPad, whatever the case may be. You have a piece of technology that's nothing more than the central processing unit that it has, right? And so the central processing unit is the hardware, okay? And then it has software. It's the thing that makes iPhone better than Android. It's just truth, guys. If you have Android, I'm sorry. iPhone's better than Android. Can we all just agree on that?
No.
All right, there's always that dispute. I love that, okay? But here's what we need to understand. You've got a phone and it's got a central processing unit. That's the hardware. The human brain, that's the hardware, okay? The central processing unit is the hardware. The software is the programming. iOS, whatever number we're on, 14, 24, 94, whatever, okay? Android, I don't even know what the hell you guys deal with as far as software, but I guess it's like Android software. Point of the matter is, in order for a phone or a computer or whatever to execute, it needs two main components. It needs a central processing unit, the hardware, and it needs the software. The software is housed in the hardware, and what the software is pre-programming for commands of execution. The same thing happens with a human being. When a human being gives you a response, and you perceive that to be an objection, a buy signal, an obstacle, whatever the case may be, what you have to understand is that's pre-programmed in for a reason. So we're going to look at so expensive. Why is solar so expensive? Or it's too expensive? Okay. One of the first things you have to understand about any sort of sales resistance is, number one, you have to get clarity. Okay, write that down. You have to get clarity. The number one problem I see with salespeople, I don't train salespeople, I train highly influential communicators. People that understand the value of a product or a service that they sell, and they want to learn how to communicate the value opportunity to the marketplace such that people go, I need that, I want that. Salespeople try and use trickery, NEPQ, NLP, ABC, this, that, the other thing, script this, script that. Okay? I don't give you guys scripts. I give you guys the opportunity to be more effective communicators that will influence people based off of value that you propose. Salespeople are going to use, I hate to use names, but Andy Elliott's one of them. I'm not a big fan, right? A lot of his things are all scripts. And they just tell people what they're supposed to think right off the bat. That is wrong. Okay? That is wrong. Or better yet, I can't say that is wrong. I'll say it's good, but there's better. Okay? And I think that's a journey we should all be on, is looking for ways to be better. Good, there's a great book. Collins is his last name. I forget his first name. But it says, good is the enemy of great. Or the book's name is Good to Great. The concept is good is the enemy of great. Right? And sometimes what happens in sales is over the years, we do what Jim Collins, thank you, Dayon, or Dayon. We always do what we've always done, but the reality is all we're doing is propagating stuff from like the 1970s and 1980s. And here we are in 2024 where nothing's the same that it was 4 years ago. and yet we're using tactics from the 70s and the 80s. Okay? So to understand objections, you got to get clarity. Now, what's the clarity we need to get on when somebody says it's too expensive? Compared
That
to what?
is cheaper. But it's still way cheaper than the amount that you're going to pay to.
Statement. Here's the problem, guys. You gotta be careful. Salespeople will make statements. They'll tell you something. Write this down. Okay? People don't like to be sold or told. And the second you go into sell and tell, people perceive you to be a salesperson, and that's when they shut down. There's a time and place for telling somebody something. But remember, we're on step one. You got to get clarity first. You got to understand what's in their mind, because that's what's programmed in, as opposed to trying to program in what needs to be in their mind. Okay?
So I would say compared to what?
Exactly. Solar's too expensive. Compared to what? All right. So what are they comparing it to? If they're comparing it to their utility company, that's an easy conversation, right? We talked about that a few minutes ago. How solar through inflation, or excuse me, electricity through inflation measured by CPI.org, you can't argue with the numbers on CPI.org, right? That's the government's way of measuring inflation through the four core components of inflation, electricity, energy being one of them. It's always gone up. So if they say it's too expensive and you're like, compared to what? And they're like, well, compared to my utility company right now.
Well, I also hear that it's also, yes, even if you do a bill swap and it's more, even if it's less expensive, the fact that they have that loan added on to their current debt to income ratio.
Okay. We'll handle that in a few minutes. Okay.
Okay.
That to me is just a throw in to make it more difficult for you. Most people have no clue what their debt to income ratio is. Most people don't even have any clue. Any of you guys have sold? Where's Aaron? Don't tell me he jumped off. Okay. Some of you guys that have sold considerable amounts. My man JC's on here, right? He can tell you if you've spoken to enough people and you do a qualifying sales as a process, right? Where you first connect and then you explore and then you qualify. And in your qualifying, what you should be asking people on the front end is, what's your credit score? And if you do that in your sales cycle process, what you're going to realize is 9 times out of 10, 90% of the people have no idea what their credit score is. Right? So I don't buy the BS about, it's going to affect my debt to income. So is that credit card at 23% that's overcharged and locked down. How do I know? I know a lot of people in credit repair. And that's a booming business right now. Some of you guys are in it. You want to know why? Because Americans don't care about their credit. So don't feed me the BS about it's going to affect your debt. Right? That's 1% of the population. Now, we don't say that to the marketplace. I'm just talking to you guys, person to person of understanding. What we got to look at when somebody says solar's too expensive, you always have to get clarity first. Compared to what? What are they comparing it to? Because if you think they're comparing it to their utility company, but they may be comparing it to when they first explored solar 3 years ago, okay? Because when I bought solar 3 years ago, I promise you the system that I have today is more expensive than it was 3 years ago. And guess what? It's going to be more expensive 3 years from now. You know what else is also going to be more expensive 3 years from now? Your utility company. Do you know what, and this is where you can start opening people's minds to the value propositions that we talked about. Well, if solar's too expensive compared to what? Let's say my utility company. Okay, great. What are you paying right now? And maybe you've gone through the process through your, consultation that you've done where you've looked at their utility bill, you've done the math that your mentors have taught you how to do via videos and that sort of thing, where you take their total bill and you divide it by how many kilowatt hours they use that month, and that's your real kilowatt hour rate. And let's say it's 17 cents per kilowatt, right? And the solar that you're trying to sell them is 19 cents per kilowatt. Well, now you got to start doing a past and future pacing. Okay, what did you pay 3 years ago? Well, I have no idea. Do you think it was the same? Knowing that inflation affects electricity and it's always gone up, do you think you paid the same 3 years ago? No. Right? Nick's like, no, that just doesn't make sense. All right? Do you think you're going to pay the same 3 years from now? I mean, think about it. We're in a hyperinflationary society today. When's that going to end? Anybody have any clue? We have no idea. So if we're in hyperinflation, we have no idea when it's going to end. We know hyperinflation is going to continue until there's an outside force. Law of thermodynamics tells us that what? An object in motion tends to stay in motion unless it's acted upon by an outside force. Well, that's what inflation is. It's going to stay in motion unless it's acted upon by an outside force. What's the outside force that's going to change the hyperinflation related to energy?
Interest rates.
Cost of energy. Cost of energy, meaning if they're comparing it to their utility company, their utility company is powered by what? The big bad fossil fuels, right? Oil, right? Why did energy skyrocket? Well, we have an administration, irrespective of what you believe about the administration right now, that a couple years ago shut down a pipeline that caused us to be at the behest of other countries supplying us that critical raw material. That's why the cost went up. So unless something changes in that regard, your electric is going to continue to go up at a rate that is above average. What is average? What's the historical average of electricity rising over a sustained period of time?
Is it 5 to 7%?
About 3.5 to 4%. Guys, this is stuff you need to know. Right? This is how you logically present to people the ability to make decisions that solar is not too expensive, or why is it so expensive? Because when we talk about the value proposition of lower fixed end date versus higher variable in perpetuity, what you're showing them is it may be more expensive than your utility company right now, but over a long play where you're higher, which means higher variable, at any time they can change it and they always will. Right now we're in hyperinflation. It's going to constantly go up. And while it's constantly going up, your solar bill is staying the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got something to add.
Hold on 1 second, okay? So when you're getting clarity, comparing to what? That's why that question's so vital. Because you have to know what are they comparing it to. If they compare it to the utility company, that's the conversation. Concepts to conversations. That's how you become a master in influence, guys. Concepts to conversation. You take a concept, your 4 value proposition concepts, and you shape it into a conversation. And here's how you know you've done it well. It's when someone goes, huh, I never thought about that. And when they say that, because they will say that to you, you go, well, what else haven't you thought about? Okay? Dayon, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, I think what's also on people's mind is that they are reluctant to get into a 25-year commitment. And you already talked about that you are already in a 25-year commitment for your mortgage.
All right.
So that's part and parcel, in my opinion, of it's too expensive.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I'm going to tell you be careful, okay? The number one thing that I teach people in my coaching programs is the most dangerous thing you can do in proverbial sales is to think that you think like they think. Let me say that again. The most dangerous thing you can do is to think you have thoughts that you think like they think. Meaning, when you say, I think people's concerns are, what you're doing is thinking that you think like they think. Never do that. Never do that. That only becomes valuable, that conversation becomes valuable when you do step one, which is what? Get clarity. If somebody presents to you like, hey, I don't want to have to commit to another 25-year loan. Right? So that's why I say step one is always get clarity. No matter what people tell you. Solar's the most ridiculous thing ever. Okay, what is it about solar that makes you think it's the most ridiculous thing ever? Okay? When you get clarity and they tell you what's going on in their brain, then you can handle it with your concepts that you shape into a conversation. Does this make sense, guys? All right. So when we look at solar's too expensive, well, compared to what? What are you comparing it to? I'm comparing it to where solar was at 3 years ago, or the last time I looked into solar. Why is it so much more expensive now? Well, unfortunately, have you heard of the concept of inflation? Is there anything inflation hasn't affected over the last 3 years? No. So can we say that inflation's affected cost of products? Can we say that inflation has affected cost of labor?
Everything.
Right? All those things that are critical to selling solar. Has inflation affected the cost of borrowing money? Say yes. Has inflation affected car sales, home sales, grocery sales? So when they say it's too expensive compared to what? Well, where it was 3 years ago. Everything's more expensive than where it was 3 years ago. Bless you. You're welcome. Okay? So what you got to help them understand is that is in a, we can't just leave like, everything's more expensive, so now here we are. Well, here's the thing that we need to understand. You know what else was more expensive 3 years ago? Your utility rate. You know what the difference between solar right now and your utility company is? Just like it was more expensive 3 years ago, it's going to be more expensive 3 years from now. But if you lock in right now, we can lock in this rate, and the one thing that's guaranteed is your utility company will continue to go up.
Your utility company goes up, and you have an
It's that lower fixed end date. What does that mean? Lower rate. It's not maybe lower. It's not necessarily lower today, but over a sustained period of time. How long you plan on owning this house? Possibly 10 years. It's my forever home. I might retire here, whatever the case may be. 7 years, 5 years, for all I know. Well, guess what? What you lock in right now, over the course of the next 5 years, it's going to be lower, and it's going to be fixed. You'll never pay any more. This is just like the concept of buying a home and getting a mortgage. Because the alternative is renting and quote-unquote throwing money away, or better yet, being subjected to a landlord who's going to do what? Raise your rent every year. So you buy your own home, you get the tax incentives, you feel a sense of ownership when in reality you don't really own it. How do I know? Don't pay your taxes next year. Tell me who owns your house after that. Okay? But they give you a sense of ownership. And really what you own is, in 5, 7, 10 years, you need a new roof, you need a new HVAC unit, so you got all these expenses, but yet we still think owning a house is more what? Is a better logical decision than renting it from somebody else. It's the quote-unquote American dream. Hey, guys, write this down. I like saying this. You may not like it, but I like saying this. You know what solar is? It's the American dream 2.0. It's the American dream 2.0. Because the American dream is to what? Own your own house. Why? In real estate, I've been in real estate almost 20 years now, guys. For the last 10 years, I've taught real estate agents at a high level. You know what I teach them? The concept of selling real estate is the understanding that people don't buy and sell homes, they buy and sell lifestyles. right? And understanding that home ownership is about you get to control the lifestyle that you want to live through the freedoms of the Constitution of the United States of America. You may be under attack, but they're still alive. Solar is the American Dream 2.0. Because now not only can you own your own home and drive your own lifestyle, you can now own the electricity that powers your home. And then you can start integrating in the other concepts of some of the other value propositions. So when somebody goes, it's too expensive, and I start to explain that to them, then I go, is it really too expensive? Or did you just have a narrow understanding of what solar really is for a homeowner today? Is that cool? We good with that? Anybody have any questions or comments about too expensive? Does anybody still believe solar's too expensive?
No, that was really great. Thank you. And the only question I have is that you don't even get to a point where they just say not interested. So I guess that's a different one. So
what are you not interested in? That's when somebody says, and that's one of the objections you guys didn't throw out. I'm not interested. Okay, out of curiosity, what are you not interested in? I'm not interested in solar. What specifically about solar are you not interested in? Because then you're going to get to the core, right, which is going to probably be one of these. I have core 4 objections. We can talk about it next week, but basically your core 4 objections are what? Time, interest, money, and spouse. Oh, I got to talk to my spouse. Oh, it's too expensive. I'm not interested. I don't have time. Those two kind of go together. Right? Okay. Any other questions or comments on too expensive? We'll move to that experience. All right, cool. So you got some concept, you got some content that you guys can work with on that. Now, we talk about perception of bad experience. Step 1 is what? So let me back up for a second. What are we actually hearing from the marketplace? What's the actual statements people are saying that allude to it's a bad experience because the neighbor chose the wrong company?
So the company went under, now they don't have any support or service.
Okay. What is somebody saying to us exactly that we're alluding to? Okay, this is a bad experience comparison.
My friend's house burned down.
My friend's house burned down? Because
Yeah. That's what they claim, yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting one. We can handle
I
that.
think a lot of reps just give a bad expectation to the customer of what's going to happen after solar. Meaning, okay, your bill's going to go to 0, or your and they just give them a bad expectation of what's actually going to happen.
Robert, I am so glad you said that, my friend. Okay, I am so glad you said that. Guys, get that effing bill swap language out of your language. You're not swapping a bill. You want to know why? Because it's not happening. Because by law, let's be very clear about something, guys. By United States law, you have to be attached to the utility company. And if you are attached to the utility company, I promise you one thing, you're getting a bill. You may not be paying for your electricity, but you will be paying what? A connection charge, a customer charge, some sort of charge. So
Even if it's only $5, Chris.
yeah, when you're sitting there telling people it's a bill swap, exactly what Robert just said is what is upsetting people in the marketplace. Okay? Or we're going to eliminate your electric bill. No, you're not. You're lying. Why am I still getting? Well, like I told you, it's the you still are connected to the utility company. Blah blah blah. Right? First of all, you got to set proper expectations in sales. Okay? And if you're going to circumvent, and I think it was like 2 weeks ago in our last session, we talked about this where solar salespeople, it's not that they necessarily lie, they're just not fully truthful. right? Remember I challenged you guys, like, we got a lot of new people. So for those of you guys that were on the last call, don't answer this question. Does solar add value to your home, to a homeowner's home?
Yes.
Who agrees yes?
Not immediately.
Not
Not
bad.
say yeah.
immediately.
Okay. A lot of
I
people.
think-
Does anybody say no?
No.
Does anybody say otherwise?
It depends.
It depends.
Is the loan through the solar company, or is it through your bank or another?
First and foremost, here's what you need to understand. We're gonna.
Is it leased or is it owned? Are you
So
buying and leasing?
there's two categories: leased and owned. Okay. Lease 100% does not add value to a home. So if you're out there selling leased systems, no judgment, but please make sure you are being truthful. If you're holding, well, they didn't ask, so I didn't tell them, you're lying to people, right? Let's just be clear. If you know that leases do not add value to a home, well, they didn't bring it up as a concern, so I didn't handle it.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of that. You do what you want, but I'm just going to tell you, I'm not a fan of it. Now, we've got two categories, lease and own. Lease is 100%. I don't care what you say. They will not, do not, will never, unless something changes as of right now. So get that one out of the consideration. In ownership, you now have two subcategories. Okay? Full ownership, which means they don't have a loan. Okay? Or they have a loan. Okay? A solar loan, excuse me. Right? So if you're doing like Sunrun, Mosaic, Goodleap, or any of the traditional lending companies that lend directly to the consumer for the purpose of buying a solar system, then understand something. That scenario does not add value to a home. If they take out a home equity loan, and the bank lends them an unsecured equity loan, and they take that money and purchase the system, in essence, they own the system outright. That scenario, or they pay cash for it, that scenario adds value to a home. Okay? And that's by the green certification guidelines instituted by the American Appraisal Institute. Okay? That's what trained appraisers go by. So we can have all these different beliefs. Realtors can tell you whatever the hell they want. Most of them don't even know about real estate. They shouldn't even be talking about solar. Okay? And if you're a realtor, hey, so am I. It's just my opinion based off of what I see in the marketplace, so take it for what it's worth. But understand something. We go by what the American Appraisal Institute goes by, because that's who gets trained. And understand something. The appraiser better be green certified if they're appraising a home that has solar on it. Because if they're not, I don't care what they say, they don't understand the guidelines properly. So when you're out there selling, make sure people understand the difference between, hey, leasing a system? Yes, leasing a system's cheaper. The Zoom is every week, Robert. Okay. Yes, the system is cheaper. There's a reason why it's cheaper. It's cheaper because the leasing company owns the system, and based off of the guidelines of the federal income tax credit, the entity that owns the system gets the tax credit. And if they're in an SREC state, guess what? The SRECs go to the person that owns the system, which is why they will lease you the system cheaper. Just like a car dealership, it's cheaper to lease a car because what you're paying is the depreciation. And then they get the car back minus the depreciation that you paid. Okay? So understand that. But when we look at bad perception, the bad perception of solar is not because solar is bad, but because we have a lot of bad solar representatives. This is an unregulated industry that, in my opinion, needs regulation. One of the reasons why I do what I do is more than just a call on my life with my affiliation of business to what God has asked me to do, and I'm honoring that, but because I see some very bad practices, and consciously I can't sit back knowing what I know and seeing what I see. Okay, so we come here and I donate my time, I volunteer my time to make you guys better so that you can go into the field and make solar sales better. That's why I opened it up to the company I affiliate with, the company, anybody. There's people from multiple different companies. Anybody's willing to come because we're here to make the industry better. Okay, so when we look at a bad experience, when somebody says, "Oh, solar's a scam," right? Do we hear that?
All the time.
Okay. Well, how is solar a scam? Right? And what you're going to find out is any of those responses allude to the fact that they have talked with someone who has solar. How do I know, guys? I live on a corner, right? Right here on the left-hand side where my hand is. This is the side of my house, and that's a corner. And my neighbors walk by my house all the time. I'm in the yards with my dogs, doing yard work on the weekends, and I have a lot of people that walk. And if you walk up that way on my house, you see my solar panels. My solar panels are literally right above me. My neighbors ask me all the time. They're like, "Yes, I see that you have solar." I'm like, "Hey, how do you like your solar?" I'm like, "I love it." Really? Yeah, I love it. It's fantastic. Oh, I've heard this, I've heard that. My neighbor has it, had a bad experience, blah, blah, blah. What are some of the bad experiences? Lying, solar salespeople. Ignorant, solar salespeople. Right? What's the difference between lying and ignorance? Lying is you know and you still choose to lead people a different direction. Ignorance is you just don't know. A lot of you guys didn't know whether or not solar really adds value to a home. The majority of you were like yes, some of you said no, and one person said it depends. Okay. There's issues. Oh, they still have a bill, right? Undersized. Guys, one of the biggest issues in Florida over the years of being a mentor for other people, and I found this two places, Florida and Texas. Why? Those are big markets. These companies hire these guys, they literally put them on planes, they drop them in the market. I like to call them airdrops. They drop them in the market, they door knock neighborhoods for like a month. They see people and then they move on. And I've been lied to, cussed at. I've done it. Whoever has their phone on mute, please mute. Who you are? There we go. Okay. So I've been yelled at, cussed at, the whole 9 yards when I've done a presentation. I'm being honest with people, and I'm like, "Whoa, time out, Tiger. Why are you so upset? You're trying to deceive me. How so? Your proposal is so much higher than the other two that I've got." Okay, well, let's bring them in. And you know what I found? These people are undersizing units, undersizing systems. 50% of offset. You want to know why? Because they know what kind of the threshold of what people are either willing to buy or they only have capability because of their company's affiliation with the lender will only lend but so much per project. But what I used to tell people is your system is undersized, and I have to educate them as to what that looks like, and they have no idea. So salespeople are playing off of the ignorance of the marketplace. So what you have to understand, concept to conversation here is conceptually, solar is not a scam. The scam was the salesperson. That's not a reflection on solar as a whole. Solar can't scam you. It's just panels with electrical wiring tapped into your home's electrical panels. Solar can't scam you. The person selling you solar scammed you. That's not a reflection of the value that solar presents to a homeowner. So is it important as to which solar representative you do business with? All right, I need every single person's head that's on video. I need their head shaking yes on this one. You need to wake up. Okay? Shake your head. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's north and south, folks. Thank you. Okay? Here's why. Here's why I do that to you. Victor, pay attention, buddy. This is important. Hey, Victor. All right. This is what happens, guys. You guys lose in the game of sales because you show up to people giving you free coaching and something else becomes more important. That's on
Totally
you.
agreed. Totally agreed. Totally agreed.
Right? That's on you.
Right.
But here's why I say this
Right on. Free
with the
training,
level of
people
intensity
fuck it
that
up.
I do. Because you have to make this part of when you first connect with someone. If you are not qualified to sell your own deals yet, which means you have a mentor, you have to let people know before the mentor does the presentation that, hey, I want you to understand. The person I'm going to link you up with, my business partner, he's going to go through your proposal. We're going to talk about the value propositions of solar, etc. But I want you to understand something. Who you buy solar through matters. It's an unregulated industry, and it's a sales industry. And anytime you have an unregulated sales industry, you have unscrupulous practice. And I don't mean to talk bad about any of my competitors, but I need you to understand, here's what's going on out there. There's people that are ignorant to the values of selling solar, just like some of you guys were this morning, but that's not on you, right? You at least made the decision to show up and learn. There are people who know and still choose not to share information about certain things relative to the value of solar. Perceived value of solar for your home. And then there's people that are just flat out lying, deceiving people because they're just there to make a sale. They don't care about the repercussions because you're not going to get their cell phone and they're going to be in another market a month from now. Why is that important, guys? Go ahead, Pam.
I have a question on that. And so what makes me so whenever the question shows up, if they're unscrupulous, how do you know that I'm not? Like what makes me different?
Great. If you ask me that question, because I'm going to educate you. And I'm going to educate you on the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And you're working math with the customer.
I'm sorry, Robert?
I like working if in that situation, I like actually going through and working the math. You know, the production of the panel, the production of the inverter, just doing all the math with the customer, and just and if I can get the proposal from the customer, you know, from the company that was that undersized their system, I'm going to show them the difference between 16 panels and 30 panels, and just do the math with them, and they'll see, oh yeah, there's no way that was going to create enough energy for me.
Yes. So guys, understand something. Selling solar is a mathematical conversation. It just makes sense when you understand the math. But the reason why I said, why does it matter that you educate people on it matters which sales representative they do business with, is because the reality is, if you think for a moment you're the only salesperson they're talking to, they're going to get multiple quotes. They may start out with you, and then they're going to tell you they're going to get other quotes. And what do you think? If you give them, let's say, 104, 107% offset, that's kind of like, you know, where I like to be. If the utility company allows that, that's where I like to be due to, you know, panel degradation, showing them that 107%. You start out 107%, it gives you some leeway for some extra usage, add some things to your home later down the road, but also offsets the panel degradation over the next 20, 25 years, so on and so forth. What do you think the next unscrupulous sales guy is going to come in and do? He's going to beat your price, not on the fact that he's got better what? Equipment pricing or better lending prices. He's going to beat your price on an undersized system. You don't need 104% offset. In some systems you don't, right? Where you have net billing, you guys understand the difference between net billing and net metering, right? Net metering is literally retail to retail. You know, what you get charged is what you get credited. Net billing is the situation I'm in. There's retail and wholesale. The utility company buys back at wholesale, but they charge you retail. So at night when my system's when my electricity is my home's electricity is coming from the utility grid, they charge me 14.2 cents. When I've got full sun right now and I'm sending electricity back to the grid, they're only crediting me 3.8. That's net billing. Right? So 104% offset may not be the right system for them. Battery may be an option. Right? So these are the things you need to talk to them about. And we can reduce the amount of bad experiences by educating people on the front end. Okay? So if you're doing a sales where someone's not having a bad experience, you help them understand that bad experiences are legitimate in the marketplace. You want to know why? Because when they tell you we're going to think about it, what are they going to do? They're going to walk past Chris's house, and the next time they see Chris, they go, hey, I've been thinking about getting solar. What's been your experience with solar? And the second that that bad experience enters their mind, you lost that sale. It's important to help people understand the bad experiences that are in the marketplace because they're real. Does this make sense, guys? Any questions on this? All right. Let's handle one more. I know we're about 8 minutes over. I'd like to invest a few more minutes with you guys. If you have to go, go. If you want to stay, you're welcome to stay. But I want to handle with you guys today the home insurance. Homeowners insurance is going to threaten to cancel me. Where are you guys hearing this? This is typically something you hear in Florida. Nope. Who are the people that had home insurance canceled?
Also, California's coming.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm just hearing the people questioning if they have to call their insurance company and will it cost them more money?
yeah. So
That's what I'm hearing.
Okay. When you get a car, do you insure it? Of course you do. Because the fact of the matter is, if you get in an accident, one, the law states you have to have it, but even if the law didn't state it, you probably want insurance because if you got into an accident, you don't want to have to pay thousands of dollars out of your pocket just to get the car back on the road because that's what gets you to your job and everywhere you need to go without walking or riding a bike in this steamy hot summer, right? So insurance protects your interests in something that you pay considerable money to. Right? If you have a total loss of a car and you have no insurance, how do you pay off that loan? Because the second the loan is notified that it's a total loss, they do what? They accelerate the payments. It's called calling in the loan. So when someone goes, oh, well, I'm concerned my insurance is going to go up. Well, why wouldn't you want to insure a $45,000, $60,000 panel system? When I called my insurance company, I said, hey, here's a proposal for solar that I'm going with. I'd like to know, what the increased charge of my home insurance is going to be. They told me nothing. They said it's not going to go up. I said, hold on a second, time out. You understand? Like, I want to insure the system, right? And they're like, yeah, it's not going to go up. I'm like, so if a hurricane blows through here, my roof is gone, my panels are gone, like, you're not going to screw me like you never told us you had a solar system, that sort of thing. Like, I want to make sure my solar system is insured. Well, they told me why, but it's not important right now. But the point of the matter is you have to help people understand you're buying an asset. Smart people insure assets. Write that down. Asset versus liability is one of the concepts that we have a conversation about. So when they talk about insurance, that's the concept of the conversation. That's the concept you shape the conversation around, that you're buying an asset. Smart people insure assets. Rich people buy $50,000 rings, $1 million rings. They insure those things. They don't go, well, I didn't buy you a ring. I didn't buy you an expensive ring because I was concerned my insurance would go up. Make sense? Okay. So, will my insurance go up? More than likely, it's an asset you're going to want to insure. But understand something, every insurance company is different. Some will view it as the fact that it will extend the life of your roof shingles because there's something that's going to protect them, so it reduces the speed at which your shingles will degrade. So they consider that an offset. Some look at it as equipment that they actually have to be responsible for should there be a loss of any nature, so your cost is going to go up with that. Has anybody ever predicted? Guys, I've seen a neighbor's house, by the way, flames shoot up their roof because they had a kitchen fire and it ran up the chase and it literally there was smoke coming out, and the second that the fire department came, they put a hole in the roof, and the flames shot out the roof. Do you think those neighbors predicted that fire at any point in the future? No, people don't predict that stuff. But life happens. They had a kitchen fire. It started with a kitchen fire. They were cooking with grease, and it got out of control, and it shot up behind the wall. So to help people understand when they're concerned about their home insurance, the conversation that you have is, look, you're putting something on the roof that's an asset. I know you think life is going to go your way, but why would you not want to have this insured? You've got home insurance, you've got car insurance. Realistically, you should add an additional amount to your policy to protect your interest in that 40, 50, 60 plus $1,000 system that you're going to own. Does that make sense? Now, understand what people are dealing with in the marketplace is that some insurance companies will cancel them if they go solar. Here's why. Because there's some markets that insurance companies want out of, and they're looking for any reason to get out of them. Florida is one of them. Insurance companies are taking a bath with Florida. California is another one. For whatever reason, won't get into it, doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, yes, it is realistic. Now, here's what you need to do. In sales, right? Just like when I coach real estate agents. Do you think real estate agents need a power team? You're welcome, Gabby. Do you think real estate agents need a power team like a home inspector, a lender, a surveyor, an attorney, title company? Those are power teams. Photographer, Michael Beerson, okay, great photographer in the Baltimore area. Right, does a lot of work with realtors. Right, those are power teams that help make the process of selling homes what more effective, more efficient. I would highly encourage you to build a power team of insurance agents that know and understand. I've got one on my team who's actually a partner of mine in solar. What does that mean? Last company I was with, he joined with me. He owns an insurance company, Goosehead Insurance, in Florida. Guess what? Every time I did a proposal and somebody was concerned, blah, 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 I would say, you need to speak to this guy. Okay? So start building relationships with insurance companies. Right? And guess what? That guy who was my partner, he was basically in my downline. He's got solar on his own roof, and he owns a Goosehead Insurance company. So when people would say, they had a concern about whether or not their insurance company is going to cancel them, blah, 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 I'd say, let me get you up with one of my business partners. He owns an insurance company, and he has solar on his own roof, and he lives in the state of Florida, which is the state that you live in. So build those power teams. What other concerns might there be relative to home insurance with regard to selling solar that we haven't covered up to this point? None. Awesome. Okay. So did we cover enough ground in these three objections that you guys feel comfortable? Now, you may not remember everything I said to you today, right? Hopefully you took notes. If you didn't take notes, I highly recommend you use today as a learning experience. Cool part is the link will be posted. You guys can go back and revisit and take notes the second time. But definitely show up next week and make sure that you guys take notes, because understand something. I teach concepts to conversation. Right? If you're showing up with the hopes that Chris is just gonna, donate his time and then give you the scripts for the objection handlers so that you can just have them and not memorize them, that's not this coach. I'm telling you that right now.
Thank you.
Because your ability, hold on one second. Your ability to have a conversation with somebody makes you less salesy and more trustworthy. And know, like, and trust is the pathway to influence. It's a pathway to rapport that drives influence. Somebody knows you, you're good. Somebody likes you, you're better. If somebody trusts you, that's the best scenario to be in. The second you sound salesy and scripty, they may know you, they may like you, they won't trust you, and you will lose with them. Okay? Sales is not about memorizing scripts. Sales is about having the ability to be conversational about proposed value and concepts that people have trouble understanding value around. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. So next week we'll handle some of these other ones: aesthetics, whether or not they can qualify, moving, too old, and then the weeks after that, I'm going to talk to you guys about some concepts of how to handle objections, to understand how to build some of these things into the early parts of your sales cycle, so that you're playing from a proactive psychological standpoint and not a reactive. Understand something. When someone's like, oh, well, my home insurance, well, you're in a reactive mode. Okay. If somebody says I'm too old, and that's later down the line of your engagement with them, well, you're not recognizing that age might be an issue. And if it is, then you understand that nobody's too old for solar unless they've been giving dying days. Right? I've only been given 4 months to live. Well, okay, solar's probably not right for you. But can you sell solar to a 55-year-old? Can you sell solar to a 60-year-old? Can you sell solar to a 65-year-old? Absolutely. That's where leasing may be a good option. Right? Not saying leasing's a bad option. I'm just saying for certain clients it's better for than not. If you're going to sell a lease, help them understand. Do you understand? By going with this lease, here's what you are subjected to. Right? I just consulted a real estate agent with her buyer that's buying a house in New Jersey, that the house that they're buying has a leased system on. And when we were done talking, we talked to, I said, my job here, I'd love to sell you a solar system, because the guy reviewed the lease. And he said, man, it's only going to cost me $1,400 to have the leasing company take this system off the roof, and I can buy my own and get the federal income tax credits and the SRECs and blah, blah, blah. By the time that we were done, 25 minutes later, I told him, I said, I would stay with that lease, right? It's a good lease. It's a good system. Excuse me. I didn't say stay with the lease. I said I would stay with that system. I would go back to the sellers and renegotiate the lease and say, hey, I've done my due diligence. I want to do some renegotiation, and I would negotiate to have them pay off that lease. I said, if they pay off the lease and you own it outright, you've got a good system. It's only 3.5 years old. You're going to get the SRECs, and guess what? When you decide to sell the house later down the road and you own the system outright, that system is now going to add value to your home. If you're a real estate agent, she was on there. I said, if you do this right, you're going to add massive value to that buyer, and he's going to love you for it.
How would they get the SRECs?
Because they own the system.
Even though the system was originally a lease and now they buy it from them, they qualify for the SRECs?
SRECs are every year. You get issued one SRECs for every 1,000 kilowatt hours that the system owns. Owner of the system. So if ownership of the system transfers, ownership of the SRECs transfers
Nice
as well.
catch. Got it.
Okay, I have a question, if I may.
Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Really, maybe the best way to
pose this question is, can you help correct my thinking in this topic? I look for new people, leads who are qualified, and that, in my opinion, means both financially qualified, but also qualified in the sense that their life is stable enough from perspective of like all the things that are going on, projects, life events, family dynamics, different things in their life where even if they're open-minded to hear me out, but if their life is too overwhelming for them, now they become, even if they're financially qualified, they become unqualified. So how do I identify that and let go of those people proactively?
All right, real simple. Do you want to make any money in selling solar? Then get rid of those conditions. Because I'll tell you right now, the large majority of people are a hot mess today. To include me. Right? I'm not gonna lie. If one of your qualifying questions as to whether or not you want to sell me solar is if I got my shit together, I'm gonna be like, bro,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I got 3 kids, a wife, 2 dogs. Like half the time I don't know where I'm at. My wife is running around with her hair on fire. Right?
Okay, so just keep at them. Keep at them, be patient with them, and keep working with them, keep following up.
Man, understand something. Whether somebody's got their act together in life is not a qualifying question to buy solar. Right? Like, here's what qualifies you to buy solar. Are you breathing? You are. Great. Are you sane and not under any sort of, mind-altering chemicals, drugs, alcohol, whatever? Right? Okay, great. And
Is this going longer or no?
is your credit score above what you're able to lend based off of your financial institution? If the answers are yes, okay, great. From the humanities standpoint, you qualify for solar. Now we're going to look at your relationship with your utility. This is what I tell people on a presentation. I'm not here to sell you solar. Okay? I'm here to share with you the value propositions of why other people go solar, why I have solar on my roof, and to look at your situation relative to your relationship with your utility company. So we're going to look at your relationship with your utility company. We're going to look at your potential relationship with solar. And when we're done with that, we're going to compare solar to your utility company in 4 to 5 key areas. And at the end of that comparison, I'm just going to ask, all right, comparison number 1. X, Y, and Z. Which one is better, solar or utility? And they'll say solar, they'll say solar, they'll say solar. And then I'll ask you, what do you think is the best educated decision for you and your family moving forward? Staying with your relationship with your utility company or initiating a relationship with ownership of solar to power your home? And logically, they should go solar, but not all the time, because sometimes it's just more comfortable. Some people don't like risk. But my point is, if you add all those other variables in, every time you add a variable, that's not really determining factors whether or not they should have solar. You're reducing your sales potential exponentially.
So where I'm coming with that is there's a Chris Voss concept, halves versus elves. So half is an acronym for like hard, something like annoying and basically could be lucrative, but it could be like blood money and frustrating. And then health is it's like the good client, you know what I mean? And then there is the continuum, is what we're saying. So I'm looking for a way to manage my own time and resources so that I'm not overextending myself to get those people who could theoretically go solar, but it's going to take me 125 visits at their home.
Well, let's be clear about something. If it takes you, numerous visits to sell somebody, you suck as a salesperson. I'm just gonna say it the way it needs to be said. Okay, and that has nothing to do with the people. Okay. Out of all the systems I've sold and out of all the ones I've contracted and whatever the case may be over the last couple of years, only one have I had to, in theory, chase. And we didn't sell him a system. But I'll tell you right now, it had nothing to do with his ability to handle life. He had a husband who was never on any of the calls, the presentation. They were never part of the communication, but he was the resistance because he didn't like solar. And I kept telling him, get your husband on a Zoom, let's handle this directly. Oh, no, I'll speak to him. And then finally I realized, like, I'm not chasing this guy. Right? So I appreciate Chris Voss. Let's be very clear about something, okay? Chris Voss is not a salesperson. Chris Voss was one of the best FBI hostage negotiators. Now, there's things you can learn from Chris. I've read his books. I've been in his master class. I've met the guy. Right? There's a lot that you can learn that can, cross-pollinate into sales. Mostly his closing mentality. I love it's what I teach. Close on no. Right? Don't close on yes. His psychology behind it's fantastic. But when it comes to sales, and you're talking about, all these other variables, some are legit when you talk about different, like when I sell high ticket coaching, right? Guys, some of the stuff that I teach you here is in my script coaching course, and that's minimum 10 grand. And I've taught hundreds of real estate agents my script coaching program over the years. Okay? They've got to drop 10 grand. There's no, okay, let's get you qualified for financing, blah, blah, blah. No. They've got to determine, can I write a check? Can I put this on a credit card? Can I do a direct deposit of $10,000? When you are dealing with that type of sale, yes, some of those things that Chris Voss talks about is very important. Okay? But when you have sales like real estate and solar, where they have the capability of purchasing a $40,000+, 20 plus 40,000, 60,000 system with financing, some of those variables aren't important. Now, one of the variables that is very important is the pool that you're prospecting in. Right? I've had people on my team in my previous company that were frustrated because they couldn't sell anything because all of their leads had credit issues. So you're hanging out with the wrong people. You're hanging out with the wrong people. Start fishing in a better, start fishing in a better pool. Right? If you fish along the bank, you catch the small fish. You fish out in the deep water with the right bait, you catch the trout, not the trout, the bass. You gotta, oh my goodness, man.
I actually did that, yeah. I did that. I went to the more qualified neighborhoods. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
So all I would tell you is, man, you build your business how you want. Right? You put whatever variables you want to put in place. I'm just telling you that the more variables as to whether or not you're going to sell somebody, and if you have to constantly go back, you got to get better at selling. You're not influencing people. They're not seeing the value. They're throwing their hesitations. I got to think about it. I got to talk to my spouse. I got to talk to neighbors. Can you provide me 5 people you sold solar to? I've got to research your company. When you build trust and you show people the value of going solar, a lot of that stuff, that multiple step sales process just naturally takes care of itself. Right? Like I flat out will tell people, I guarantee you I'll beat whatever proposal you've got, pound for pound. Guarantee it. Doesn't mean I'm the cheaper, but I'll beat it. Why? Because I know how to stack value propositions. I know how to construct a conversation on the concept of the value that solar possesses. Ramsey's been part of my coaching for quite some time in the past. He can attest to that. And again, I'm not saying I'm the best. Just saying I know enough to share with you guys value that you can bring into the marketplace. Your ability to communicate through a conversation and show people the value will significantly reduce. Mentors. Any mentors out there struggling with, closing deals because the mentees just aren't teeing them up well? That's very common. Right, and that's because they go out, oh hey, has anybody talked about going solar? No, hey, get me your utility bill. We'll put a proposal together. Okay, great, and they do it because they like you. You're hitting up your warm market, and then they put it in the system and use it like they don't know anything about solar. Nothing was teed up for them. And you're like, oh, so awesome. Tell me if you don't mind, Mr. Clark, share with me what's got you interested in going solar. And they're like, I don't know. Okay, what's brought you to this presentation today? Pam said she just got started in selling solar and she needed help, and so I gave her my utility bill and I'm doing her a favor and I'm showing up. And you're like, okay. And you're like, all right, so let me educate you about. I don't need all that. She just said we'll go over the proposal, and you're like, can't have that, right? Like, so for those of you guys that are mentors out there, get your team on these calls. They're going to learn how to have these conversations and shape the value on the front end. It's going to make your job as a mentor that much easier. I promise you.
Any questions from today?
Any questions
Only if
from
the
today?
mentor has that mindset.
Get a new mentor. Get a new
Good
mentor.
call.
If they,
Business guys, at the end of the day.
business guys, at the end of the day, it's business, right? Like, yeah, we have our, people that we like and, or our sponsor and that sort of thing. And guys, I put it to you this way. I've had people on my own team in the past be like, hey, do you mind if I try another mentor? Sure, dude. It's your business. I'm here to help you. Feel like, better aligned with someone else? That's okay. Somebody takes offense to you wanting to get a different mentor, they're in it for themselves. They're not in it for you. If you're out there, maybe you're not building a team and you're just a mentor in your company,
I'm on a
and
call,
your business
so
model is
talk quickly.
Look,
I'm going to turn this down.
Jabari, okay, Jabari does a great job being a mentor. I've talked to Jabari over the years, and his business model 100% is I'm a mentor.
I had to take a break yesterday because I had to get my paper
I'm here to
done.
mentor people.
But I'm gonna
That's awesome.
continue to work
That's
on
his
it
business
today.
model.
Okay.
If that's your business model, and you just want to make your money by
what's
being a
making
mentor
it so it's,
for other
have you
people,
already
doing,
tried it? When you
mentoring
say
their
you're
deals,
working on it, I mean, have
understand
you put
something.
hours
The
into
people
it and
that
it's
are
not
going to
working?
use
Have you
you as a
tried different
mentor,
ways of
I
doing
would
it?
get them on
How
these
much time
calls.
have you already put into it?
Okay, so I've been working on it all weekend.
You're going to improve their capability of communication to help your job in closing the transactions.
From the PowerPoint to
The
convert it.
more,
No, it
some
won't
people
work
don't
that way.
like the mentee saying too much. They say, just get the bill, I'll take it from there. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Me?
Well, it's
I
not a
wanna
PowerPoint
know
presentation. It's
what
in a
value
software called
proposition
Libra.
are they coming to
Libre.
explore based
It's
off
not
of how you hook?
Google.
Okay, I will look up that exact.
Hey Chris, they're coming because I talked to them about the potential.
Okay, because I
talked to
got the
them about,
presentation
the
to
savings
download. I mean, I
and,
have it so I can
the
download it in
SRECs
Libra,
and,
but I
federal
can't get it
income tax
uploaded
credit
into
and how that could
my
benefit them,
PowerPoint. So I was
basically
going to
offset.
just
If
do
you're in
a
Maryland,
cut and paste and put it
50%
into
of your
PowerPoint.
system
So
is going to be
I might have
offset
you do
by
that, but I don't know.
incentives.
Well, if I can't do it,
If you're not selling in Maryland, man, what are you doing?
I can import.
Get out there. Go beat up Michael's backyard.
The background and the design of the PowerPoint.
No,
What else?
I
What
would
other
just
questions you have for me?
cut
I got
and
a few
paste
extra
the
minutes.
whole thing. Don't import a background or nothing. Just
What
use
was
a blank
the
screen.
link to the portal
cut
again?
and paste it.
ChrisHartMentor.com. I'll put it in the chat.
Well, I thought you wanted the background.
But the background
Hey,
will
Chris,
show up if you cut and
Do you
paste
mind me
it.
asking one more?
Okay, all right.
So what would you open with at the door? Like, what are the first
All
two,
right.
3 lines?
But I will try to have it done for you by tomorrow.
Thank you.
What are you opening with at the door?
I'm on break this whole week, so.
Okay, this is my latest and
Alright.
greatest, and I'm
Alright.
trialing this, right?
Very
It's
good.
not exactly,
No, that's all right.
it's
Bye-bye.
not exactly,
Let me what?
sorry, I'm at a Starbucks. So I go, hello, my name is Dion. I'm with Freedom Forever. Is now a bad time to talk briefly? That's Chris Voss, right? So then I go, I'm sure you probably think that I'm another fast-talking salesman who doesn't care about you, who just wants to talk you into something. Now, the reason for my visit is because most people are good. I can virtually guarantee you do not need what I have. Look, I realize I interrupted your day. Now, if you were to find yourself pausing and giving me just another moment, I invite you to imagine what I'm about to say is coming from a trusted friend who cares very much about you, who called you up and said, I just found out a major development that's afoot. This is urgent and important. You have to have this info for goodness sakes. Listen to me very carefully. So, Chris, we've been experiencing unprecedented inflation since about 3 years ago. Now, what have you noticed that has gone up in price and doesn't look like it's coming back down?
Can I be honest?
Everything?
Brutal.
Oh, brutal. Wait, that's why I'm asking you, right?
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying, man, I know you well enough at this point to know that I can be honest and forward with you. Here's what I need you guys to write down. Write these two numbers down, 3 and 8. Ramsey, what's important about those two numbers?
How short you want to keep your pitch to.
Understand this psychologically. This is not Chrisology. This is psychology. Psychology of sales tells us you got 3 seconds to grab their attention, 8 seconds to pique their interest. So just like when I shared with you guys about, creating scripts, your purpose of creating a script is not to make a sale or book an appointment. The purpose of a script is to pique someone, grab their attention and pique their interest. And so you were like, and all of that is based on the science of psychology that tells us that the attention span of a human being is 8 to 9 seconds at best. Mice have better attention spans than humans do. So when you're going, you're saying all of it. Better yet, can anybody tell me in a nutshell what he said at the door?
Yeah.
Not a single person. Not a single person. What does that tell you? There's no retention. And you know what they're going? They're going, oh shit. This is why I don't answer the door.
I was told to pay attention. I didn't know what I was paying attention to.
Right. Okay. Okay. 2 things. And again, this is covered in previous sessions, so you can go back and you guys can listen to the previous sessions. There's what I call the bookends of failure for every salesperson. The first one is the opening, and the second one is the closing. The opening is when you go, if you're calling on the phone, you go, hello, is Don Riley available, please? Click. You want to know why? Because know, like, and trust is the entrance of rapport, right? And the second you go, is Don Riley available, please? They automatically go, you don't know me, this is a sales call, I'm out. And if I don't do this now, I'm stuck into your sales pitch, and then I got to be an asshole to you later, and I don't want to do that. Okay? Is this Dawn? Right? Again, do you have a minute? No. How are you doing today? Shitty. Those are questions we do not ask. If somebody answers their door, guess what, Dion? They got a minute.
Right.
We ask these impervious questions. You want to know why? Because we don't really know what to say, or we're not comfortable with what we really want to say. So we say a whole lot with the hopes that somebody responds. And really what you're doing is you're trying to elicit a response in those first 3 seconds, but it doesn't do anything for the sale. So you answer the door. Introduction is the most important.
Okay. I'm writing.
If you're calling or knocking doors and you don't know the names and the information of the people you're knocking, you're just shooting darts blindfolded. Okay? So get a list, get homeowner's name. So if you know that, I don't know, one, Don, forgive me, I don't know if you're married, and if you are, I don't know your husband's name. I'm just going to make up a name, Dave, okay? So just play along with it. If my list says this house I'm about to walk up to is Dawn and Dave Riley, right? And a female answers the door, I'm going to go, Dawn, good afternoon. My name is Christopher Hart. I work with a company called Freedom Forever Solar. The reason why I'm knocking on your door is, right? Dawn. Now, Dawn, when somebody knocks on your door and you answer it, and I go, Dawn, immediately you're going, this person knows me? You've piqued their interest.
Yeah.
What did I tell you about the first 3 seconds? Pique their interest, and then over the course of the next 5 seconds, you've got to do, or you've got to grab their attention. You've grabbed their attention. Holy shit, this person knows me? I don't know this person. Let me hear what they have to say. And over the next 5 seconds is where you're going to pique their interest. That's where you go from your introduction. Dawn, my name is Christopher Hart. I always say my first and last name in a very formal manner. Why? I'm not trying to hide anything. Dawn, my name's Chris. I work with this company, Freedom Forever. Freedom Forever what? Are you saving kids from underground tunnels? Are you free? Are you a Mormon? Like, Freedom Forever what? What are you giving me freedom of? Freedom Forever. The name of my company is Freedom Forever Solar. The reason why I'm knocking on your door is. And then that's when you go into your value proposition. Hey, I've talked to some of your neighbors, and those that I've talked to didn't realize how much you're paying for your electricity to power your home. And I've been able to show some of them that they can save considerable amount of money in what they're paying to power their home just by switching to a more efficient green renewable energy like solar. Has anybody talked to you about how much money you could potentially save? Right? So if I'm going on the save value proposition, that's along the lines of something I would say.
You want me to try?
But
Should I try or no?
Today you can practice on your own after this.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
You've got, keep it short, simple, sweet, direct to the point, because you only got about 8 seconds. But if you're like, they're gonna be like, oh, somebody please ring my phone quick. Cat scream, dogs bark, kids cry, somebody something. How going?
Take it easy a little bit.
No, I'm just telling you how it is, man. I'm not here to blow smoke up anybody's butt, man. This is free coaching. It just is what it is. Right? Because if it stings a little bit, then here's the reality. Yep. You're going to look at it and go, I need to change.
I'm motivated.
But if it works,
I'm motivated. I'm motivated.
If
I'm
it
changing.
works for you and you're getting bills left and right, then I'm just someone that's rambling, and maybe it can help somebody else.
I can hear very well.
I can hear very well. It's coming along well. It's sinking in.
Any other questions? Anybody else have any other questions? Anything I can add value to? My man Ramsey, what you got these days?
Man, good to see you, brother. I was I had a space in my calendar, and I was like, I got to get on. Things are great. Business is going great. Music's great, and I was just doing some follow up, going through my CRM, and just remembering you. And then I was like, oh man, I can make it to the session, so I came on.
You guys are a rock star, guys.
You're the rock star. That's why I keep coming back. Chris is given all this knowledge, and he does it. He's been doing it for years, and he's truly a man of God, a man that gives more than himself to others. And I think he's an amazing human being, and I respect him tremendously. And the knowledge that I've gained to build the company, my brand, Melodic Solar, has come because of Chris through his coaching and trainings. Weekly, sometimes twice a week, talking to him. He's always there to reach out whenever I have a question, which most of you probably already know if you're on this call. So I just wanted to champion Chris one time and just, say thank you for everything you've done for me.
I appreciate you. Thank you for always showing up. And the reason why I say he's a rock star is I don't evaluate people by their results. I evaluate people by their actions, right? What they're willing to show up, how vulnerable they are, right? And what they implement. And that's who Ramsey is. Seen him come a long way. So kudos to you, my friend. Kudos to you. Those are people I like to hang out with. What else? What can I help you guys with? Got a few more minutes. Take advantage of it.
Stop.
Did this start at 12 or 11, Chris? 10:30. Jesus, I had 12 on my calendar. I thought it started at 12.
2 weeks ago. That was our last session.
Oh, okay. So is it 10:30 every week now, or is it changing?
To make it 10:30. I can't promise, but Mondays
Okay.
is the target.
Okay, I'll check 10:30 first. My bad.
But I put it out in the Facebook group. It's in events and whatnot, so you can just reference it there.
Yeah, I'll do my due diligence next time.
What else? Anybody else? Questions? You guys want to do one more? You guys got me fired up. It's either coaching or you got or coffee or coaching. Sure. You want one more?
I'm ready for another. I'm done. That sounds good.
What do you want? Asking ye shall receive.
Let me read what you wrote.
Come on, let's go, guys. It's not just Brandon. Anybody can ask. First come, first serve. That's how we play.
I approached my neighbor, and there's a little bit of a language barrier. But I had asked him about solar, and he was interested, but he said his friend's house caught on fire with solar. But they determined that it was a wiring issue, not necessarily the solar. His solar happened to have been on the house, so not a wire issue. But I can't get him past that. I don't think I ever will.
Next.
I grew up the son of
Yeah, that's what I said. Next.
But I always like to give people a shot at helping them because they just get caught up in stuff. It's just the way things are. I grew up the son of a hardworking blue collar father who was a master plumber, master HVAC, and in a construction company. And in the plumbing world, I've seen plenty of houses flood due to poor plumbing practices. That didn't negate plumbing service personnel were any less valuable than they were the day before a house flood. Okay. What do I mean by that? If you love McDonald's fries, we'll just use McDonald's fries, for instance. Okay? A lot of people love McDonald's fries. You go on a road trip, you leave late in the afternoon, so you want to beat all the traffic. You're on the road 4, 5, 6 hours. You're like, oh, McDonald's. I recognize that. I go there all the time. I love their fries. I'm going to go grab some fries to eat. And it's 10:30 at night, and those fries are soggy, cold, stale, whatever. Does McDonald's automatically suck after that? Or do you just chalk it up and you're like, probably just that restaurant, or probably the fact that it's 10:30 at
Time of night.
There's variables involved, right? So sometimes we got to help people see past what they process to help them realize, like, it's probably not solar. It was a wiring thing. Because the reality is, there's been plenty of homes that have gone on fire because of poor electrical practices, even with solar not being on the house. Had nothing to do with solar. The solar didn't cause the fire. The poor wiring installation.
Well, the coincidence of it was his electric bill was $75 at the time. It was in the winter, and now his electric bill is $265, and he's come questioning, like, can you guarantee me it wasn't because of the solar panels? I said, no, I can't guarantee you anything. I can't guarantee you that it wasn't the solar panels. I don't know anything about the house.
You're gonna pay taxes until you die, and you're gonna die. That's all I can guarantee.
Yep.
Everything else is up for debate. And so if you need guarantees, like your insurance, your utility company, your electric company is not going to guarantee you that their electric's not going to cause your house to go on fire. It's quite
right,
honestly,
exactly.
could have blamed it on the utility company because it went over electric wires, not from the solar. Solar is two things. There's a panel that absorbs the sun's energies, and through the UV rays, like you guys have to understand what's going on. Sometimes you gotta explain to people, right? And it causes electrons to do this, right? And that motion of electrons doing this creates energy, and it's constructed in what's called direct current, DC energy. And that energy, electric, travels down wires into a device called an inverter, and it converts it from DC electric to AC electric, and then it sends it to your main panel, which powers your home. That's the system. None of that causes fire. Improper wiring from a human being can cause issues that might cause a fire. So getting a company that has a reputable installer like the company that we use, that would be something. So rather than, what you got to help people understand is you don't want to deny an opportunity because of an issue. You've got to look at
Hey, good morning.
Hello,
Can you
good
see
morning.
if you can get hold of?
Or evening,
Can
I
you get
can't
hold
remember.
of Carrie and the other lady? What's the other lady's name here? Carrie and yeah, Eva, and see if they can talk to me now.
Okay.
Because I just tried Carrie, but it doesn't ring
All right.
through. Yeah.
Her phone? Huh. I'm talking to her right now about something else, so
Well, let's see
I'll
if we
ask
can get
her.
her. Let's see if we can do if she'll take a call from me. You're talking to Carrie right now?
Yeah, I have to send her an extra phone that I have, and I've been talking to her. So let me see if she's available to talk to you.
You want me to hold on?
Yeah, I'll just keep you on the phone, and I'll ask her.